Hello everyone, welcome to the Ceci Truman Live Show. This show will be starting in just a few moments, so stay tuned. And if you're seeing this on social media, please like, share, and follow. For more information, go to trumanforcongress.com. This show is brought to you by Ceci Truman. Here's Ceci.
Welcome, everyone. This is Ceci Truman, a live show. And today we're going to be discussing a very sensitive but very important topic affecting all Americans. And that is regarding our international relations and this current administration. We are going to be speaking with Shana Chappell, a Goldstar mother who lost her son in the reckless pullout of the Afghanistan war by the Biden administration. So this is a very serious topic. It's one that has come back into the forefront. We saw the father of Kareem Nakui, Steve Nakui, who spoke out at the State of the Union address recently, but we are going to speak with Shana, the mother, the Goldstar mother, and so let's welcome Shana Chappell. Thank you for joining us, Shana.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's an honor to talk to you, to know you, and you're a beautiful woman. You're strong, and I know that you rely on God a lot for your strength. Shana has not only lost her beautiful and wonderful son, Kareem, but she lost an son the following year, Dakota James Halverson. She lost Dakota. He was, and I'll let you explain more, but he could not bear losing his brother. And a year after his brother Kareem had passed away, which was August 26, 2021, we lost Dakota on August 9, 2022. I have a video clip that I want to show the audience so that they have a visual of everything that has occurred in the last few years. So let's roll that clip.
I don't think any parent should ever have to bury their kid. My name is Shana Chappell. I am the mother of Lance Corporal Kareem Nakui. On August 26, 2021, 13 U.S. service members were killed in Kabul, Afghanistan. My son, Lance Corporal Kareem Nakui, was one of them.
My perch. So I'm sorry, I just won't buy the whole argument of chaos.
Get him off! Get him off! Get him off!
So I'm sorry, I just won't buy the whole argument of chaos.
The ISIS bomber, now identified as the terrorist responsible for killing 13 U.S. service members outside Kabul's airport in August, after reportedly being released by the Taliban. One of the Marines killed was 20-year-old Lance Corporal Kareem Nakui. Kareem was born the same year that the war in Afghanistan started and wanted to join the Marines his whole life. His parents, Shana Chappell and Steve McCooey, join us now.
Since then, this administration has refused to say their names. So I'm asking all who hear this message to please say their names.
State of the Union address, the father of one of the Marines killed in the Abbey Gate bombing in Afghanistan at Karzai Airport during Biden's chaotic withdrawal, had some choice words for Joe Biden. Take a look.
Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then, through my American Rescue Plan.
Incredibly, this Gold Star father, Steve McCooey, was actually arrested afterwards and charged by police.
Our incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan, where we left behind American citizens, $85 billion worth of the best military equipment in the world, lost 13 magnificent young lives and far too many to mention that are so badly hurt.
So Shana, my heart breaks for you. And again, thank you for being here and sharing with the audience what you have endured these last few years. And it's really hard for all mothers to see your loss and your heartbreak. Can you share with us what happened on August the 26th, 2021 in Afghanistan?
Yeah, on August 26, 2021, my son, Lance Corporal Kareem McCooey, was killed in the Afghanistan withdrawal. He was killed at Abbey Gate. That day, you want me to talk about when I found out about losing him, or?
Yes.
So that morning I had woke up and I felt really uneasy. I started crying. I immediately kept thinking of Kareem. I hadn't heard anything. I didn't even know anything yet. I hadn't seen the news, nothing. And I kept trying to relax my mind because I didn't want to send a whole bunch of texts to Kareem because I knew he was busy working.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, to relax my mind, I decided to go on Instagram. And when I did, the first thing I seen was that there had been an explosion at Abbey Gate by a suicide bomber. And I recognized the background because Kareem had sent me a video a few hours prior of him. And in that background, there was Abbey Gate. So I immediately started sending Kareem text messages, begging him to please text me, get a hold of me, let me know he's okay. And then I went to my daughter's house and had her turn on the news. I didn't want to watch it alone. And at first it just said there was 3 or 4 injured. So I told my daughter, okay, I can fill out one of those as your brother. And then it started saying 3 dead, 4 dead. And then I had her turn off the news because I just felt like one of them was Kareem. And I didn't want to believe it. Finally, around 5 p.m., I went through the day really upset, and around 5 p.m., I thought, well, nobody's came to the door, and I haven't gotten a bad phone call, so he must be okay. I'll just have to wait for him to call me. And then my youngest son asked if I would drop him off at a football game. So I told him, yeah, and I went and I dropped him off at a football game, and he got a ride home with friends. I had went to visit a friend, and around 8:30, maybe 9 p.m., I got home, and when I walked through the front door, his dad had walked into the living room, so I walked in there and I asked him if he was okay, and he said my name. He said Shana, and as soon as he said Shana, I knew that what it meant, and I just started screaming, crying. I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't stop screaming because my body felt like it went numb, and I had just went into a dream that I couldn't get out of. I couldn't believe it. It was horrible. A lot followed after that. August 28th, we had to load on a plane and go to Dover. Mind you, Cream was just killed on August 26th, and now we're going to Dover on the 28th. We stayed the night there, and on August 29th, we had to meet with Biden face to face. So I don't know what I am and am not allowed to say. When it comes to Biden, I don't have anything nice to say. So I don't know if you want me to stop right there or continue.
Go ahead and share with us what you said.
Okay.
And if we have to edit it out or bleep it out, but go ahead and share with us what happened.
Okay. So in Dover, we waited for about 2 hours for Biden to come in and meet with us. He was 2 hours late. Don't know why he was 2 hours late, but he was 2 hours late. So sat there and waited for him to get in there to us. He finally made his rounds to us. When he got to me, I remember his wife reached her hand out to me, and I just looked at it, and then I, basically let her know I wasn't shaking her hand, and I didn't shake Biden's hand either. I had no interest. As a matter of fact, I told Biden that I had no interest in actually talking to him, and before he could let me finish, he said, "Oh, okay," and he went to turn away. I said, "But out of respect for my son, Lance Corporal Cream Nakui, I am going to speak to you." And he said, "Okay." And he just stood there looking at me. And I explained to him I was never going to get to. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay.
I explained to him I was never going to get to hug my son again, or hear his voice, or hear his laugh. And he interrupted me and started talking about his son, Bo, I believe his name is, that had passed away. Is that his name?
I think it is.
Well, he started talking about him. And so I interrupted him back and asked him what he was doing. I said, "This isn't about your son. This is about my son." And I said, "So listen to me." And I was crying. I was so angry and hurt that I was actually crying, but I was watching how I spoke. I out of respect for my son. So I go on to start talking about how Cream's never going to get to have a family, finish out his dreams and goals in life. And he interrupted me again to tell me that he was only talking about his son so he could show me that he knows how I feel. And I told him, "Don't tell me you know how I feel, because you don't know how I feel." And I was so upset at that point that I did tell him, "I'm done talking to you," because he had already interrupted me twice. He didn't want to hear about my son, so I was upset. I was even more upset to take notice that he didn't thank me for my son's service, and he did not tell me sorry for my loss. He was more focused on trying to talk about his son to me. Now, I'm not saying that his loss isn't important. His son died of cancer. His son was in his 40s. His son lived his life, had a family, had kids. My son was 20, and to me, I was face to face with the man that was responsible for getting my son killed. And I was mad. Like, I have so much, I don't want to use the word hatred. I never knew what hate was before until this administration, till Biden. Now I know what hate feels like, and it's a horrible feeling. It can consume you sometimes. And just to see how he had no compassion whatsoever for my son, like no respect, nothing, really upset me. And as he turned to walk away, when I told him I was done with him, he said, "Okay." He turned away, and I turned my back toward him, and he walked away, and I let him get a few feet away. And then I turned around. I don't know what made me do it. I turned around and I yelled, "Hey, Biden." And he turned around and he looked at me, and I said, "My son's blood is on your hands, right? All 13, their blood is on your hands." And he turned his back toward me and waved his hand behind his back and kept going, as if what I had to say didn't matter. And then from there, we had to go over to the airfield where our children's bodies were taken off the aircraft. And they came off as numbers. Cream came off as number 8. Instead of by name, they came off by numbers. And Biden continuously checked his watch. I found it very disrespectful. He was checking his watch as if he was bored and he had someplace better to be. It was very, I just felt like my son was being disrespected. Like, he was just killed 3 days prior, and you're acting like you being here is taking up too much of your time. It was very upsetting. And to this day, I don't know if you've noticed, but Biden has never said their names. None of their names. Not even one time. He hasn't even attempted to say their names. To me, when you go out of your way that much to push something aside, out of the public, and make people forget, you don't want to say their names because you want people to forget them. That's because you know you're responsible for that act. You know you're responsible for that happening, and you don't want to be held responsible. You don't want to be held accountable for it. So you make sure not to say their names. You make sure not to talk about them. They don't fit your political agenda. Instead, they showed just how incompetent you truly are and what a screw up you really are. So just forget them. Don't talk about them. Don't give speeches about them. Just act like they didn't exist. That's what he's done.
Right.
Sorry.
No, that was just fine. That was just fine. Yes, this administration has no regard for our military, and they show that through their policy. And that was the very first colossal failure of this Biden administration and those that are serving that agenda. And my condolences to you, Shana, from a mother to a mother of adult sons. I cannot even fathom what you have had to endure. And my prayers, I pray for you. And, I never thought back, a few years ago that, I saw you on TV, and I never thought I would get the opportunity to actually talk to you. And so it's just a great honor, Shana.
Well, that's what I actually like about you. The way you had reached out to me, you did it in a caring way. You didn't do it in a way like, hey, I got to try to get something from you. You did it in a way that made it seem like you cared about what happened to our fallen 13. You cared about the families and their pain. Not like you were trying to use anyone for your own personal gain, but actually wanting to help get the stories out. That makes sense?
Yes,
Like,
it does.
so that they're remembered, and what happened in Afghanistan, and to our fallen 13 and to our 18 wounded, what happened, because altogether 31 were wounded. 13 died from their wounds. 18 lived, and Biden's forgotten about them too.
Right.
Like, not like they've been recognized either. They've been forgotten about too, just like our fallen 13. So stuff like that keeps me upset, because when it came to George Floyd, Biden never missed the opportunity to give a speech about him, say his name. And the speeches given about George Floyd, and I'm not trying to put him down, but he was a drug addict, violent career criminal. He held a pregnant woman at gunpoint and threatened to kill her unborn baby as they robbed her. And he was painted by this president, Biden, as a hero. His name said over and over, the family treated like royalty, taken to the White House, apologies from him to them, sorry for your loss. Once again, more speeches about their son like he's a hero. But then 13 actual heroes are killed, and he is silent. Never says their name, never gives speeches about them. He acted like they were the violent drug addict criminals. That's what he did them like. So it's because George Floyd fit his agenda. Our fallen 13 didn't. So ignore them. Like, stuff like that disgusts me about this administration. And after my oldest son killed himself, I did have a letter sent to Biden. I had a letter sent to the White House by a congressman. And in that letter, I had it state that now I've lost a second child because of you. you owe it to my sons to have another face-to-face meeting with me, because I do have questions I want to ask you. There doesn't have to be any cameras around. It could just be private, but I want you, and he's too coward. He's a coward. He ain't going to do it. He's a coward.
Because everything, whether it is George Floyd, whether it is your son and the 13 fallen, they are politicizing both.
Yes.
And they're using, they use whatever they can to stay in power, and to, they exploit families. They don't care. They truly do not care about the Black community like they say they do, about our military like they say they do. So that's why we're talking about this, because we need to expose those things that are not right. And we don't want another repeat of this. And that's why we need different leadership.
Well, I wanted accountability since day one. And I knew that this administration is responsible for the death of my son. I can't speak for the others. I can only speak for my son, Lance Corporal Kareem Nakui. And not too long ago, this administration gets 3 more killed because they're incompetent. They don't know how to make right choices. Like, you can't put a weak person in charge of a country and expect other countries to respect your country when you have a weak leader.
Exactly.
What
We're the
happened?
laughing stock.
Yes, we are, because we have I can't even call him a leader. I mean, he's leading, but he's leading us straight downhill. He's leading our country down. So I guess he is leading, but leading straight downhill. He's literally destroying our country, destroying lives, and he doesn't care. He absolutely does not care, because it has no effect on him.
Well, we mentioned that you are a Gold Star mother, and that term Gold Star actually began in the World War I era. And I'm just going to read something. It says, it's a family, a title which is reserved for the families of military members who have died in the line of duty. It is meant to honor the service members' ultimate sacrifice while acknowledging the family's loss, grief, and continued healing. So I just wanted to mention that, because, I think people assume, they know what a Gold Star means. And so, we need to honor not only the military that are serving, but the military that have given the ultimate sacrifice. And, if we could only wrap our minds around that we will never see them again. And they died for our freedom.
Yes.
They died for the freedom that we have in America. And, it is said by Ronald Reagan, if we do not have freedom in America, there is nowhere else to escape to. This is it right here. Yes. And so,
and
now, go ahead.
They didn't die. I can only speak for my son. He didn't die for people from the left, and he didn't die for people from the right. He died for everyone in this country. My son served this country for everyone, not just for one side. My son wasn't political. He didn't have a side. He thought if people liked each other and they got along, that's great. Didn't matter what side they were from. You help everyone. You care about everyone, and you be there for everyone. He had a really good heart, and he loved helping people. So he's not about one side or the other. He's about everyone. So when my son was, I didn't look at it as, oh, my son died for Republicans. No, my son was killed. He served this country for everyone in it.
That's right. I recently spoke at a school board meeting, and, our recruitment levels are below what our military recruitment levels are below what they were pre-World War II, which was, early, the late 30s, early 1940s. And, there's been a movement, an infiltration into our country that's been happening for a long time. But, we're being infiltrated with the Marxist ideology. And, I also like to add that it's very communistic ideology. And we are teaching our kids that through CRT and doctrines like that to disrespect our nation, that, you know, they're being taught that America's bad, America's a racist country, but yet we have multitudes of people coming, and even before this current invasion, we had people coming to our nation for freedom, for opportunity, and, you know, but yet they want to teach our children who are born here that we're such a bad country. And so what I said at the school board meeting was, what do we think is going to happen? I mean, this truly is a national security crisis, because we have kids that are not going to enroll or enlist in the military to serve and protect all Americans if they think we're a bad nation. So I see the movement from the outside. I see this strategy from the outside to weaken us. And you know what a hero your son is, to enlist himself as a very young man, to have that, even the thought that he wants to serve and protect all Americans. What a courageous young man, and how rare that is.
You know, it's funny you brought up schools, because my truck is, the bed of my truck, the whole bed of my truck is wrapped and it has the Fallen 13 on it, big picture of my son, and then on the tailgate it has pictures of my son in his flag draped casket with 3 Marines and me and my oldest daughter standing behind it. So, and I have 2 flagpoles, so I do fly 2 American flags. And I went through my granddaughter's school to pick her up in Norco. And this is only probably maybe 4 months ago. And as I pulled through, I had the window down. She's excited. Here comes her grandma in her big old truck to pick her up, you know, and she's waiting. And we pass a group of kids. We're almost to my granddaughter, so we're slowed almost to a complete stop, and the windows are down. And we hear a child say, "Oh my God, look how racist that truck is."
Oh.
There's 2 American flags on my truck, the side of my truck, and then also the bed of my truck is wrapped like an American flag. And this child says, "Look how racist that truck is."
So we've got professors and teachers indoctrinating, brainwashing these children. They don't know what they're repeating what they're being told.
Exactly.
And they're believing what they're saying, you know. And you know, it's very tragic. It's very sad what is happening to the public school system, and it needs a complete, I mean, something drastic really needs to happen, because how we're going to lose our country.
Because if you stop and think about it, when I always tell people we have to protect the future of our country, when I say that, I'm talking about the children, because the children are the future of this country. They are the future. So how do you make sure you have complete control of the future? You make sure not only do you dumb down the kids of the future, but you manipulate and get them brainwashed, because then there's no future for our country. Just like with the military, you're having less and less people join the military. How do you weaken a country? Weaken its military. So everything that this administration, and I hate bringing this up, but this goes back to Obama. Like, you know, some people don't realize Biden was Obama's VP. As soon as Biden got in, he continued doing everything Obama was set out to do that he didn't get to finish doing. So now you have Biden doing it all. I mean, I personally believe that I met Biden face to face, and he is not all there. But you can see it in his eyes. This man is not all there. Even face to face, he can hardly spit out a coherent sentence. So I do believe that Obama is still running our country, because everything that's happening in it is what he wanted done. I could be wrong. It could be, maybe it's as bad, you know, but so you have that, all this happening. So weaken our country, weaken our military, brainwash the future of this country, which is the children, and you can bring down America. And it's sad, because I never thought I would see in my lifetime this happen to our country. And even more so, I never thought I'd see people sit back and allow it. I always thought if something like this happened, that we would all rise up together and be like, nah, you work for us. I think you forgot you work for us. Now let us put you back in your place, you know? So, and it's not happening. Too many people are sitting back going, well, I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose my job. Well, guess what? If it keeps going the way it's going, you're going to lose your house anyway.
Coming to your
You're
door.
going to lose
That's
your
right.
job. So why not fight while you can? And they can't put us all in jail. They can't put us all in prison. And then I've had people say, what if they try to shoot us? What, you wouldn't die for your country? I would die for my country. My son died for our country.
Well, we don't want it to, right. We need to fight the way that we can. And that's why I'm running for office, because we need to fight legislatively. We need to get these jokers out of office. You know, and I have seen footage of Obama speaking, saying, wouldn't that be great if I had a third term, if I could just be behind the scenes, you know, and someone else could be the front person, but I'm the one calling the shots behind that person. And so, you know, out of the mouth of, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? And so we all seen that footage of Obama speaking and saying that. So yeah, that is my suspicion. I think most Americans believe that. Most Americans don't believe that this incoherent older man, he's not there. We know he's not leading the country. You know, he's the front man. So
I have,
and that's the tragedy of this.
I have my two youngest grandsons are a year and a half old, and I'm not exaggerating this. They speak more clearly than Biden. They can complete a sentence. So I mean, it's not. I'm not just saying this because I dislike Biden, but how are people going to believe this man is running our country when he can't even complete a sentence? But not just that. When I think about him, I get really annoyed. But this is a person that could not even get people to go to rallies. They could not get people to go to his rallies. So
he didn't campaign.
They had to come up with a reason why he wasn't doing rallies, because they used COVID, because they couldn't get people there. I just seen, I guess not too long ago, he was here in LA, driving through LA. There was nobody on the streets for this man. I think there was one corner, but I think they were holding up signs saying "Go home" or something. It was, or F Joe Biden.
I think there was an entourage of trucks with American flags, and they were Trump flags that were following them, and which I thought was kind of
if I would have known that he was going to be here, I would have been the one following his with my truck.
With your truck, yes, I can see that.
But so there's no way you could have convinced me that this man got 81 million votes. No. I know he didn't. That's why I say I'm worried, because they cheated to win. They acted like cheating was winning. So now we got the 2024 election around the corner. They're going to try it again. They're going to, and if they succeed, we're screwed. Trump.
And that is why, and why I have been telling people that every vote counts, and that we have to get up out of our homes. This is very serious. This is midnight hour for America, and stop complaining of what is happening if you're not doing anything. We all have a part to play. It's we the people, and you find your little lane of what you can contribute, because I'm telling you that we will not have a country any longer. Look what happened to Venezuela when the tyrants came. They're rich in oil there, but they're living in a third world nation now. And it was a very prosperous nation. It was a very beautiful country, and they had plenty of resources, and their economy was flourishing until these people took over their country. And now it's devastating, completely devastating what has happened there. And that's just one example. I mean, you've got Cuba, you've got Vietnam, you've got countries in Eastern Europe have been taken over by communism. I mean, you can go to countries in Africa and they're being overrun, and it's horrific. And if Americans do not wake up and smell the coffee, it's coming to your door. It's coming to your door, Americans. And this is why Shana's son died. He died for your freedom, but it was at a cost. And, I always like to say that, Jesus he sacrificed for us as well, so that we will have eternal life. It was, the salvation is free, but it was not cheap. And we must never cheapen the deaths of our military. And we must always honor what our military did on our behalf, so that we could live life, so that we can, have families and prosper and, enjoy, what we have here in America. So, we always need to uphold your son and your family and what you're continuing having to endure. Shanna, go ahead.
I was going to say, me losing two of my sons doesn't just affect me. It affected my whole family. It affected I have 5 kids. When we lost Cream, it affected my oldest son. His heart was just broken. And about 2.5 weeks before the 1-year mark of Cream's death, my oldest son took his life. Then I see my daughters. They have children, and, watching them be hurt. So losing kids doesn't just affect the mother or the father. It affects the siblings too. Sorry about that. It affects the siblings too. And I don't know if you noticed that Kareem's dad, they arrested him.
Oh, that's right. We need to talk about that.
Oh, okay. I'll let you.
Let's talk about that. So there was a State of the Union address just a couple weeks ago. Was that a week ago?
It's a week ago, yeah. About a week
ago. And this is going to be pre-recorded, so people watching this might see this a little bit later. But there were Goldstar family there, families who lost their child in the Afghanistan pullout, and President Biden was giving his speech, and again has not mentioned the 13 fallen. Still refuses to say their names. And spontaneously, your ex-husband, Steve Nikui, stood up, and we have that, we showed that video footage. But I want you to talk about that. How did you feel when you saw that?
I didn't watch the State of the Union because I can't watch Biden. I get very angry, especially, I just can't watch him. He disgusts me. But I did have people send me clips of it, and I was proud of Kareem's dad. To hear he yelled out United States Marine, Kareem M. Nikui. And because he did that, it brought back to life, what happened at 13, what happened at Abbey Gate, how incompetent this administration is. It also made people think, well, how come we've never heard about these 13? Because some people didn't get a chance to hear about Abbey Gate because they took it off the news so fast, So it caused people to start Googling who these 13 were and what happened, so they could see how incompetent this administration is. And then they arrest him. This is a Gold Star dad.
Right.
He has every right to yell out whatever he wants when it comes to his son. He's in the same room as the man who was responsible for the death of our son. But yet they turn around and they arrest him for speaking his son's name. To me, that's disgusting. I've had a lot of, believe it or not, even though I wasn't there and I didn't participate in that, I've gotten a lot of nasty messages from people, like on social media, telling me I've dishonored my son, I've disrespected my son for using him that way. And I explained to them, I wasn't there. I didn't do it. And they're saying, how can you use your son as a publicity stunt? And I've tried to explain to them, it's not me, it's his father. But it worked. They're talking about Abbey Gate again.
Exactly.
About our 13 again. They're reminding people what this administration did and how they didn't care, and they tried to sweep it under the rug, how they've ignored.
Exactly.
So to me, I'm proud of him. I'm glad he did what he did. I was upset to see that he got arrested because he didn't deserve that. This is our son. He could say our son's name. He should not be arrested for saying our son's name. It just kind of reminded me more of a communist country where you
Mhm.
said something somebody didn't like, so you get arrested.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, it just to me was ridiculous. But at the same time, it shows people how this administration truly is.
Hmm. Showing their real colors. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we need to honor our military families, but instead, what does this administration do? They're dishonoring, and they're treating you guys like you're the criminals, and it's everything's in reverse. Good is called evil, evil is called good, and so yeah, colossal failure, and it's like one failure on top of the next,
Yes.
and so we need to expose these failures, because we cannot have more of this. We cannot have more, loss of life, unnecessary loss of life. And I mean, they completely have a disregard for life and for the safety of all Americans. And, again, I mean, that's why we're watching also open borders. I mean, they're trying to destroy the sovereignty of America by trying to dismantle our Constitution that your son died for, and they're trying to dismantle our borders, remove the sovereignty of our borders. And, they have allowed up to 20 million unvetted, mostly military aged men come into our country. So this is extremely concerning. It's extremely devastating to America, and we all need to wake up, because what happened in Israel on October the 7th, they are planning for America. And so it's time for all Americans to wake up, to engage, and to activate, and to participate in our our government. It's our duty to vote. That's the most minimum thing we can do. And but we also need to get more involved, and I talk to people, and they truly don't even know anything about anything. I just, out of conversation, will talk to people, and they look at me with a blank stare, and they're like, well, I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about, because I know the news gets muffled, but it's going to be up to us to actually find those trustworthy news programming that's going to report the truth. And they do exist. They're out there. And I might put some links, actually, since we're talking about this, some links where people can get some accurate news, because that is part of Marxism. That is part of the communist agenda. Is you control the news, and
You control speech, you
that's
control food. I mean, stop and think, like, even buying food, and now all your food is just so unhealthy. You got to be afraid to eat it.
yes, that
Like, you don't know if you're gonna get what you're gonna get from it. But even that's being. I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. She was trying to defend Biden, and I asked her, "What are you defending?" And she said, well, at least he doesn't get up there and act like an asshole. And I was like, I'd rather have somebody up there acting like an asshole who fights for our country and who keeps our country safe and who is honest. And if being honest makes you think somebody's an asshole, then I guess I'm an asshole too. And I said, but at least Trump took care of our country. I
That's
said,
right.
Biden, I said, do you like working your ass off so your tax-paying money can go to other countries? Because Biden don't help our country. He puts other countries first and America last. Do you think that's okay? She said, that doesn't happen. I said, oh, you haven't heard anything about Ukraine? Like, where's your head? So we had this big, long talk about how Biden puts America last. What started the conversation is she questioned my truck. She's seen, like, that's the purpose of my truck being wrapped too. It gets a lot of conversations started so I could talk to people. And I'm not hostile to them when I talk to them. I've had them be hostile to me, but by the time we're done talking, they've changed their attitude. They're more understanding, and then their eyes are kind of open, like, oh wow, that all made sense. Like, if they're just watching the news that feeds them lies, they can't get to the truth. They can only believe the lies that they keep hearing over and over.
And that's propaganda. That's what we call propaganda.
And yes, and manipulation. But when they get around somebody who's speaking the truth and then points things out to them, they're able to see it. It opens their eyes and they're like, oh my gosh. And then they're kind of angry that they fell for this. And then they become pissed off at Biden. They're like, why would we even believe? Like I had recently pointed out, I think her name's Corrine. She speaks as ignorant as Biden. The 3 soldiers that were killed not too long ago, recently, she she referred to them as folks. Folks, our soldiers as folks. I don't know if you remember that. And so we got on that topic. I said, you don't find that disrespectful to our military, to their families, to their parents? I said, and then I explained, Biden has never said our 13 heroes' names, not ever. I said, matter of fact, I said, he talked about them one time on the news. I said, and I have it recorded and I have it pinned on my Instagram. He refers to our fallen 13 as the women and men blown up. The women and men blown up. I felt so disrespected when I heard him say that I remember when I heard him say that, me screaming at the TV and crying, thinking, this man has never showed any respect for them, ever. Still, no respect for them. So, like I said, talking to these people, bringing things to light for them is helpful, because all they get from the news nowadays, and even from social media, is lies. But if they get to talk to somebody and it's in person, and that person can point things out and show them where the lies are, it really does open their eyes. There's no going back for them once their eyes are open. So I believe that's what, God probably has in store for you, to help open people's eyes, show them the truth, about this administration, what's happening to our country, and God's guiding you the right way to help our country, help we the people. So I think that's the mission.
Thank you. That's what we've been talking about the last 3 years, since the whole, the capital C word that happened, because, it's facts over feelings. And when there's a scripture that says, basically saying that when you are full of emotion but without truth, that's a bad thing. And that's what we've been witnessing, is a lot of anger and I don't even know how to describe it, but just mob mentality. And when you actually ask people the right questions, they don't have the right answers. They don't know if they are truly acting out emotionally without having the truth or the facts or the information. And so this is very dangerous. It's very volatile.
Yes.
What we're seeing right now. Shana, how can people find you, and do you have a website?
I don't have a website. They can find me on Instagram. I'm SoCalAngel13.
We're going to get you a website. We're going to get you a website. I'm planting that seed right now, because, we know how we cannot rely on these platforms. It's going to be, and I think we're going to help you get that website, because I think you need that so that you can grow your voice, because I believe God's going to use you. He's got a mission for you, and I'm going to continue to pray for your strength, and for God to help you and guide you, and just bring ultimately healing to your heart. But you are my hero, and I just I love you, and I'm going to continue to stay in touch with you. And I want to be that encouragement. I know you've got a lot of people that are there to encourage you, and you deserve that. And we need to continue to uphold you, because I think God's got a big mission for you. And so, what is your Instagram handle so that people can find you?
It's SoCalAngel13.
Okay. All right. So you heard that, everyone. Please follow Shana, we'll stay in touch, Shana. We'll have you back again, but I want to thank you for coming on the show, talking about something that's very painful, and you're going to come out on the other side, and one day we will see your sons, both of them, in heaven, and we're just going to keep plowing forward. for our nation. And ultimately, I just want to just tell people that, our hope is in heaven. Our hope is in Christ Jesus. And because of him, we have the guarantee of eternal life. So surrender your heart and your mind to Jesus. Acknowledge that he is alone, the one who can save us, and we will be in eternity together. So God bless you, sister, and we will talk again soon.
Right. Thank you. You have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
This show is brought to you by Ceci Truman.